What's up, guys? If you've been watching MPL Philippines, you'll notice that Baxia is almost always banned. I'm not sure about other regions, but MPL PH alone is already a solid basis. However, in ranked games, he's barely picked, and of course, even less frequently banned. At first, I thought the reason why he isn't picked in ranked is because of the nerf to his life bane effects, but that's actually not the case. In fact, with the nerfs to all life bane items, we actually need Baxia even more because of his unique passive where his own life bane effect stacks with other life bane items. And since the current meta revolves around sustain, spell vamp, and lifesteal, which are basically healing, Baxia becomes even more relevant. He's the only hero in the game with a built-in life bane effect, which makes him stronger now, contrary to expectations that he'd fall out of the meta after the nerf to his passive. But take note, this doesn't really apply much to solo ranked games, and later on you'll understand why. Still, that's not the only reason Baxia is an autoban right now. Remember that Baxia actually has two passives, the life bane, which I already mentioned, and another one that reduces the damage of the enemy per hit. It starts at 15 damage reduction and increases by 1 per level. With these passives, he can counter a lot of heroes, not just with his life bane effect, which already affects many heroes, but also those that rely on continuous hits like Kimmy, Chang'e, and more. And that's just from his passive alone. On top of that, he's extremely flexible in roles. He can go XP lane, roam, or jungle, and he doesn't feel forced or unorthodox in any of them. Even at high-level play, like in the pro scene, his flexibility really stands out. And lastly, his farming speed. Baxia clears the jungle extremely fast, especially in the early game. Honestly, I don't see any other jungler who clears and rotates faster than him. In fact, in this game, I was already farming inside the enemy's jungle. It serves a dual purpose. Not only do I gain XP and gold, but I also steal XP and gold away from the enemy jungler. And Baxia can consistently do this, as long as your teammates have control of the map. In this game, the enemy jungler ended up throwing because I kept invading him. And honestly, that's exactly what you should always do when using Baxia. If you're not going to invade, then there's no point in picking him. You have to maximize his early game advantage. Instead of just clearing your own jungle camps first, go invade the enemy's jungle. After invading, try to rotate and go for a kill if possible. If the enemy plays it safe, that's when you go back and clear your own jungle camps. But I only suggest using him as a jungler if you're playing trio or 5-man. You'll have a hard time if you use him in solo ranked games, because once the match reaches the late game, you'll have no choice but to rely on your teammates, especially your gold laner. Unless you're already in Immortal rank, Baxia really isn't suited for solo queue. And even in Immortal, there are still a lot of players who don't really know how to play properly. From my experience, I usually play solo when I use him, and I notice that I only win if our gold laner is at least decent. I mean, the bare minimum is to just play safe, but when they keep getting solo killed, even if I completely dominate the enemy jungler and we secure every single objective, once the game drags into late game and our gold laner is useless, we still end up losing. But if you want to always be ahead of the enemy jungler, then pick Baxia. Because even if you don't rotate to the side lanes, when you're dominating the enemy jungler, their mage and roamer will be forced to help. And most of the time, even if they do, it's still not enough to kill you in the early game. And since you're constantly disrupting their jungler, it also means their jungler can't rotate to the side lanes. That gives you full control of the early game. What happens then is the side lanes become pure 1v1 matchups, which is why your teammates only need to play safe and wait for us to visit their lane. But if your gold laner insists on taking 1v1 fights even when their hero is at a disadvantage, it becomes extremely hard to win. There's nothing you can do about their decision making. You can't force them to play smart. Even if you constantly rotate to their lane, the moment you leave, they'll just get solo killed again, and the enemy marksman will still end up getting stronger. Anyway, I couldn't stop laughing at what Leslie did. and Diggy's quick reaction made it even funnier. Using Baxia really depends a lot on luck with your gold laner if you want to secure the win. But it's definitely good to have Baxia in your hero pool as a jungler, because if your roamer only plays support heroes and your EXP laner only picks damage heroes, then Baxia becomes a great pick to balance the team. Of course, it's really up to luck. You're fortunate if your teammates are good, and unlucky if they're not, especially the gold laner. But don't worry, there are so many bad gold laners out there, which also means there's a high chance that the enemy's gold laner is just as bad. So even if your gold laner is weak, most of the time it gets offset by the enemy's weak gold laner too. Even though I was playing solo here, my teammates were actually strong. Our XP laner and roamer had really solid engages, so you could even say I was just lucky to win this game. But when I think about it, if your teammates are dumb, no matter what hero you use, you'll still end up losing. The difference is if you use a damaged jungler, at least you still have a chance to carry. Unlike when you're using a utility jungler, I really hate that feeling of being helpless, where the only option left is to surrender even if you've already given your teammates all the space they need. I tanked so much damage here. Yeah, it was a bit too deep, but my tankiness was enough to bait the enemies. If only our marksman had followed up on me directly, we could have avoided any casualties. But it is what it is. We still ended up winning. But we almost lost. Leslie was insanely strong in the late game. When you use Baxia in solo queue, expect that feeling when you can't even clear minion waves, you can't solo kill enemies, and you can't push turrets. It's just so frustrating. When all of your teammates are bad, it's completely draining. I really, really hate that feeling. In this game, I did the same thing. I invaded right away and then went straight to the turtle, which we managed to secure. That alone was already a huge advantage for us. The enemy marksman here was really strong. Since it was Brody, he's one of those marksmen who shine in the early to mid game and doesn't rely too much on scaling. That's why he could handle our Bruno in the lane. So even though we managed to kill him there, it didn't really affect him that much. So yeah, I invaded the enemy jungler so many times already, and I wasn't slacking either because whenever I cleared out all the jungle creeps, I also made sure to rotate and pressure the enemy. We were even able to kill their marksman, which gave us a huge lead in the early game. But I should already be worried when my teammates can't handle themselves and keep getting solo killed whenever I'm not around. It feels like we can only score kills when I'm there. But the moment I leave, they just end up dying. They're already at a disadvantage in terms of hero matchups, and at the same time, they're also outclassed in skill. If you want to know Baxia's item and emblem build, just check the pro builds. You'll see there that the win rates are really high. But it's also pretty obvious that most of them aren't playing solo. It's easy to tell, because for a solo player, reaching top global with more than 70% win rate is almost impossible. When I reached top global with Masha, my win rate was 72%, but I wasn't in the top 10. That's why I said it's almost impossible. Just like earlier, I tanked so much damage and baited out the enemy's skills. Then my teammates arrived. We could have wiped them all out, but since they stayed under the turret and I didn't have enough damage on my own, it wasn't possible. Still, we managed to take down 3 of them. But even after that, we still ended up losing this game.